Welcome back. So now we have this where we have the Spain volume and which also showing up. That's because we had unchecked hidden in game. And when we walk in and that takes away some armor, and then once you wait for the armor to turn zero, it goes into negative and then it starts taking the health away like that. Okay, so it works and we tested that. So next we need is something which is a blood splatter or something like a blood splash image, right? So I'm gonna bring that up. So here it is. This is a blood splash image, so you can easily get it in you can just search you can just search the internet for anything that says blood splash image and you'll get something like this. It's very easy to create. Maybe if you're not an artist, then you can download it for free from the internet. Now this will be displayed every time you get hit. Okay, this is a little transparent in the center. It's got a lot of translucency uh, around the edges, and it has some blood spatter around the corners as well. So that will indicate that you are being hit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the asset right now, uh, and I'll bring it inside the project, and then we'll start creating a different second widget blueprint where this image will be displayed, and we also have to animate the fading and the fade out of that particular image. So inside UI, I will right click and I'll create a new folder and I'll call this sprites and images. Sprites and images. I'll create another folder where I can organize. I'll just organize it where I can dump my blueprints. So I'll say widget blueprints, or I can just say widgets. I don't know. Widgets are good enough. And first thing is I'm going to drag and drop it inside and move here. And then inside sprites and images, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go over to import asset, or you can simply drag and drop, but I'll show it this way. And then I'll just bring in the blood splash.png. This is what it looks like. It's got transparency built in. It looks good. This is what we'll be using for creating a blood splash effect, and save that, and everything else is good. And texture group, you can go for the UI part, and that's okay. That just groups it into a certain texture. And I think I'll just close this pane volume for now, and I'll just compile that. That should be good enough. And then now I'll go over to the widgets and I'll create a new widget blueprint. Okay, so I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to user interface, and I'll create a widget blueprint, and I'll just call this damage effect. Right, damage effect, and that blood splash thing is going to come on the screen. It's going to fill up the screen, fade in, fade out, and that's it. That will indicate that you're taking some damage. So I'll open that up, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm simply going to drag in an image, drop it here. Okay, I'll first center it. I won't center it. In fact, I want this whole thing to I want this image to fill up the whole screen, so I'll simply do that. Okay, and then I'll bring this down to offset 0 and 0. That's okay. And of course the offset right and bottom, I'll just want to check on the resolution of this image. If I hover over, it's 960 by 440, but instead we'll make this 1920 by 1080. There you go. Okay, I think I should let's see, I'll do that. Okay, I'll first say 1920 by 1080. Then I'll set the anchor point to fill, and that's okay. So, and now next up we will simply you know when I collapse the brush, I will be able to set the image, and the image is called blood splash. I'll bring in the blood splash and I'll attach it to that, and there you go. So now this is what it will look like, and I wanted this image to anchor and fill up the whole screen, because regardless of the resolution, no matter what resolution you're choosing, it's gonna cover the entire screen, because that's exactly what we want. We don't want it to be just the center of the screen or anywhere. We want this entire screen to be covered in this blood splash effect. That's what we're doing. And after we select the anchor, and after we set the size of the image, and then we set the anchor and offset left and top to 0 and 0, it's going to set the right and the bottom to its right amount. So it was 1920 by 1080. So exactly it brought it down by 1.9 and 1.08. So that works. That's fine. So I'm going to save that, and again I'm going to say on success only. Okay, that's good. So now we can start working on the fading and the fade in and the fade out effect, as well as when to call this guy in. All right, so great. So the first thing is we'll rename this image because it's a weird name. So I'm just going to call this blood splash. Okay, and also I want this alpha. If I go over to the color and opacity, I want the alpha to be 0. I want to start off at 0. I'm making the alpha go down to 0 because by default, when you start the game, it's not going to show this effect. It's only going to show when you walk into that volume, and it'll also use this alpha for an animation where the alpha will go up from 0 to 100%, and then it'll come back from 100 to 0 and 100% to 0 again. So that'll be a quick over a span of half a second. So it'll be a quick splash. It'll be a quick flash of this a quick flash of this blood splash image. It'll fade in and fade out, and that's it. So just to indicate that you are getting hurt, and it's also a nice animation, right? So once that's there, and just save that, compile that, and save that. Now next we'll add an animation, right? And I'll click on this little animation with this selected, or click on this animation, and let's just name this fade. Simple. And with that selected, we'll have to look for a track. So when you click on this, you can see blood splash, canvas panel slot, and all the named widgets. Now we just want this, so we're going to select this and not the canvas panel slot. We want the blood splash image and not the canvas panel. Okay, so I'm going to select that. Right. Okay, so now that we have the blood splash, we also have to select what track do you want to add to the animation. Now when you click on plus, you're going to see all of these properties that you can work with. You can work with the clipping, you can work with the color and opacity property of this image, you can work with the cursor, and all of these, the transform and the visibility and all of that. So I'm gonna we want to manipulate the color and opacity because out here the alpha is 0, right? And with that selected, when you click on this, when you collapse that, you can see that the opacity at 0 seconds is 0. Okay, and we want this whole thing to happen over a second. So I'll go over to half a second, yeah, 0.5, and I'll bring this up to 1. Okay, so that the opacity is 1, and then again I'll go over to 1. I'll scrub down to 1 second mark, and I'll bring it down back to 0, right? So this is 1 and this is 0, right? And when I just hit that, okay, so there you go. It's a quick splash, it's a quick flash. If I hit play, I think that's the yeah, out here, I hit play, they can see that. Okay, hit play again. So that's a quick flash, and that's what it's doing, right? Not bad at all. So this is what we need. Now I'm going to hit compile and save that, and then I'm quickly going to go over to the graph, and let's see whether it works.